Alright, it is not known how many there were in the FΑTÚ tribe, but they were very brave people. They came from Tonga Tapu. It was very plain that they were warriors of Tu'i, and in those times it was also clear that no one could wipe them out. The FΑTÚ family's father was FΑTÚ, and FΑTÚ means turban of God. The word Tu was used in the olden times by the Polynesian people for God. Tu meant God, and Tu'i Tonga meant God in Tonga. You see what I fucking mean? Little gems like that. You can't let that go over your fucking head, Tokoa. Hidden gem within the stories. You know what I mean? Wait for the breakdown to see what I mean about this. Alright, back to the fucking story. The residents of the FATÚ tribe was Afar, hurricane, for their might was like a hurricane. Tu'i was frightened that the FATÚ tribe might attack them and he would be killed. So he ordered their father FATÚ to be secretly murdered and the children were chased away from La Paja. They then later on sailed to the north in a boat. Hapai was left behind, so they continued on past Hapai. But when they reached Vava'u, Fatumanga said he would stay there and indicate the entrance to Vava'u. The rest who continued to these northern islands had Fatu'ulu to direct their trip. It seems that Fatu'ulu was the eldest. They left Vava'u and when they got to Niotaptapu, Fatu'ulu said, "Let's get off here, for our food supply is finished and there is no water. Our boat is in a bad way, and our only daughter Makaotea has said that its time is due to have the baby." So they directed the boat into the channel while the tide was still low, and Fatu'ulu said, "Anchor the boat to the eastern side of the channel, and find out if there are still some leftovers of food somewhere, so that we can eat before we go ashore." They searched and found some baked wild yam left and ate it all. And then to this day, this channel has been called Umuteve, roast wild yam. This channel runs straight to Vaipoa. Fatu took the big towing stick and told the rest to stay on board while he tried to fish them some raw seafood. So he threw his towing stick in the water with his fish driving stick and found 4 fish had died. So he ate one and threw the other 3 in the boat saying, "Eat that." The rest asked where he got the fish from. Fatu'ulu replied, "It is the result of my gumigumia," poking around. From then on, those fish were called gumigumia. After they had eaten the baked wild yams and the gumigumia fish, they went ashore to Falehau. Falehau at this time seemed to have been the only village inhabited, so they stayed with the Hau ruler there. By this time, Makaotea had her baby, a very beautiful daughter, especially her skin, which was like the inside of an egg, so they called her Fo'imoa, egg. They stayed on there, then the FATÚ tribe asked the Hau to let them go and live on the hill. Their wish was granted, and they went and settled on the hill which is called Golo. Fo'imoa grew bigger while they were staying there, and her pool that she drank and bathed in was called Utufekitua. The Fatu people made her a pigeon snaring mound in the western part of that place, and it was called Finetenga Lele, woman with the beautiful thigh. Alright, it's that time again where we see what Google tells us about who we are. A pigeon snaring mound in Tonga is a Siaheu Lupe, and in Hamoa it's a Tiaseu Lupe. It's a prehistoric, often star-shaped or circular, raised stone platform constructed in Polynesia, notably in Tonga and Hamoa, used by chiefs for the elite sport of catching Pacific pigeons. You know what that reminds me of? England's stone circles in Brittany. If they don't prove that shit is connected to the sun or stars ASAP and make it fucking clear to the people, son, I'm gonna expose their bullshit and let you know how England's stone circles could have just been made for catching birds to eat. I mean, you can talk about all that shit about astrology, but nigga, I'm fucking hungry. Let's catch some fucking birds to eat and feed our families. I mean, that shit sounds more believable to me, personally. The only thing I believed back then that they used for astrology were the stars. And here, I'll dumb down one way of how they would have used the stars, because all these motherfucking scholars go to schools to learn technical fucking words of what I'm talking about, so that only they understand and they can understand each other, so that they evolve into a class which is different from the not knowing what the fuck's going on class. But here's one way they would have used the stars. And I need your imagination for this. This ain't no mythical story, but this is a fucking theory. A what if. But you gotta imagine a world with no time. You understand? Time doesn't fucking exist. So now think about that kind of world. You now have all the fucking time in the world. And in this world, it's been going on like this for hundreds of years. However, every day, you always seem to see these set of stars in the night sky that never fucking moves. Everywhere you go, that shit is fucking there. So one day you're like, fuck this shit. Stop fucking with my head. Why the fuck do those stars keep coming back every day and fucking with me, Shana? What the fuck does it want? Fuck, you know what? I'ma go to it. So you set sail, and every time the boat steers out of place, you fix the sail and get the boat back on track and follow those fucking set of stars. You do this all night till the fucking morning in the open clear sea that has no land in sight. Then all of a sudden, you pop up at the island of Tuvalu, and you're like, what the fuck? Wait, so if I follow that star, I will reach Tuvalu. Then he traveled back, and the next day, he was like, what if he followed the star but point the boat a little to the right of the star and keep the boat going into that direction? Where will I end up? All of a sudden, he pops up at the island of Hamor, and he's like, what the fuck? This is a game changer. So if I just follow the star and point the boat towards a particular direction that's near the star, I'll end up at those particular islands. What the fuck? And if you did this for years, those stars would have ended up acting as your compass to find different places. As you keep doing this at night for years, you then see patterns in the types of fishes, sea animals, and the rocks you see in the water that help you further understand the path you're cruising on. All these little things all together play a major part in knowing how to travel in the daytime without the stars. Do you understand? A place with no time back then was a big canvas for all these sea warriors to create trials and errors in sailing. A lot of time to figure shit out. Keep this information I will say next in your mind. This place was a place where the God we know now doesn't exist. It wasn't in the minds yet of our people back then. So put yourself in those shoes. You're clueless of the world and what awaits out there. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. There's fog around and just a calm sea. Your boat is moving slowly because there's no wind. There's nothing in sight. Does it look scary yet? That place you're imagining was their portal to other dimensions. You know what I mean? That was their psyche. And every time an island suddenly appeared while they were in this portal or on this journey, that island that appeared became a new heaven too, or a dimension to them where they could enter. You understand? I hope you understand. If not, you know the saying, dust your fucking self off and try again. Back to the story. Foimoa grew bigger while they were staying there, and the pool that she drank and bathed in was called Utufekitua. The FΑΤΟΥ people made her a pigeon snaring mound in the western part of that place, and it was called Fine Tengalele, woman with a beautiful thigh. So they built her that, and they stayed on there. However, Foimoa got sick and she died. They buried her then on the hill which is now called Foimoa. It is the second hilltop from the east. The very top of that hill is where Foimoa was buried. It is called that after her name, and it is still known that by her name. The FΑΤΟΥ lot continued to stay there. Then they thought of shifting. And Fatu Matasio said, you go, I'll stay at the end of the hill to the east and see how you go. That is the stone called Fatu Matasio, which is still there to this day. The FATUs descended, and when they got down, Makaotea turned and looked up. She could not stand it, so she turned to the rest of the men and told them to go on, and that she was going to go back and stay with Fatu Matasio and Foimoa. And so she returned. When the FATUs got to Falehau, the rest of the FATU family continued on to Tafahi. While Fatu Ulu and Fatu Tanu were staying at Falehau, the Hau asked them to make a family vault for the kings to be buried in. So Fatu Ulu and Fatu Tanu made a vault which is known as Fatu Ulu. Fatu Ulu died after a while and was buried at Fatu Ulu. Then Fatu Tanu thought, I'll stay on here and attend to the Hau and also to the Fatu Ulu. Fatu Tanu went and made himself into a basalt rock to implant on the road frontage. Today it can be seen situated at the fruit of a gardenia tree called Falehau. That is the rightful allotment of the Falehau chiefs, and the little rock shows up sticking up situated at the allotment of the little gardenia tree called Falehau, with the rock called FΑTU buried nearby. Paula Visi has this section now. It is said that while FΑTU was getting old and drawing near to the end of his life, a feeling of anger came up in him towards those who wanted to go instead of staying at Niua for Fatu'ulu like Niua Toktapu. And he knew the how and the people. He made some people go and kill the rest of the Fatu tribe who had gone to Tawhahi. As the men that Fatu'ulu asked to kill the Fatu tribe got to Tawhahi, they fought and chased them. But the Fatu people changed themselves into basalt rocks, making the men of Niua not able to get them, so they stayed as basalt boulders at Tawhahi. Fatu Loa Meremo and Fatu Makarikari are in the channel and the rest around Tawhahi. Fatu Kau and Fatu Kalapu tried to escape to Hamoa, but when Tawhahi was nearly out of sight, they felt the stab of love towards those who stayed at Niua and Tawhahi. So they changed into big rocks in the middle of the ocean and are still there to this day. All the Fatu are basalts. Only Makaotea, who later on became a stone, was a sandstone. Sandstone is a soft stone, for she was a woman. Makaotea is in the bush allotment called Makaotea on the hillside of Falehau. At present, it is held by a man called Elisa Mini. Alright, next story. In Niua Toktapu, there's a little island known as Si'ikaiha, small but significant. This island stands in the channel which was the harbour, the one which was known as Homakokau at Hihifo. It is said that this is where the Tu'itonga's ship has landed, and this story is of the king's landing. The island was only of sand and hardly anything grew there, but there was a couple living there. The couple was very surprised at the arrival of such an important man at their little hut, and the people told him that he was the Tu'itonga. The couple started anxiously running around trying to get something to be presented to the king, but unfortunately nothing was found. The man only had a pied gava root which was placed on the roof of his hut. Therefore he brought it down and presented it to the king, saying, "This landy island has nothing better to offer you than this ngingie scrub." But the king was very grateful and said, "This is called Si'ikaiha, small but significant." Therefore the little island was so called Si'ikaiha, and moreover it is still talked of even these days. Alright, you know what to do. Fuck off to the next.